So I'm sitting outside, and this old woman is smoking, and she goes, "Is that guy funny in there?" And I go, "Oh yeah, he's on the Tonight Show last week." And she goes, "That don't mean nothing." And then threw her cigarette down.
All right, ball breaking with Mike and Steve. We have a special guest today, Aaron Weber. Am I saying that right with my accent, Aaron? You could correct me at any time. Very Philly-based accent. When he met me, he was
You say it more correctly than I say it, probably. You missed that Aaron. You know, I like that. That's probably how it's supposed to be said.
How do you say it, Aaron?
I just say Aaron. But I actually, if I'm at a restaurant where I have to say my name, I always say Doug. I always give a fake name because I feel like I can never land Aaron the first time. I always, it's always Eric or is it, so I just say Doug. And nobody ever is like, "Did you say Doug?" No, that guy looks like a Doug. So I always say Doug.
Oh, man.
It might get weird.
You call me that if you want. I don't care.
It might get weird when the credit card comes out, huh? Oh,
yeah,
Doug's a thief.
Yeah. Well, dude, I was at a restaurant in college. I said Doug, and then I used my credit card, and the lady goes, "This says Aaron," and I go, "Oh, but I just go by Doug," and she's like, "Oh, you have an accent. Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Alabama," and then she goes, "Well, I got to see your ID now to make sure that you're actually Aaron," and my ID is from Tennessee. So this woman is just like, this guy's just a liar about everything. I think about that woman every day. That this guy walked in, "I'm Doug, I'm from Alabama," and I'm Aaron from Tennessee. So I'm just full of crap. That's what I think it is.
Aaron Weber, you could see him regularly on a podcast that really blew up during the quarantine, Nateland Podcast. You could see him regularly on there. Is it fair to call you a co-host, Aaron?
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
That's what it's Nate's podcast for sure, but I'm there on every episode.
Absolutely.
So
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, co-host.
And you could check out a special which me and Mike watched regularly. Shirts and Skins, very funny.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you, dude.
Great work,
yeah,
bro.
I appreciate it.
Just not to confuse our listeners, me and Aaron could be. I think it's fair to say very different. And how the relationship happened. We both auditioned at a club in Columbus, Ohio.
I need to talk to Aaron. I'm going to talk to Doug about this.
And
yeah.
And what I learned in that experience, one, it was great to meet him, who is on another level. But for me, the whole experience was humbling because, like, I'm at that MC feature. I say regularly on the show, MC feature level. Uh-huh. You talk about being over-prepared. This guy, he went up there,
thanks,
and, bro, I became a fan instantaneously. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get to work, bro.
I appreciate that. Well, if it's any consolation, the pandemic happened a week later. Nothing happened because I haven't worked at Funny Bone since.
Really?
Because of it. Nah, I think I've done maybe one. But it's so funny that we were sitting there. That was March 5th, I think.
Yep.
That you and I met, and we had no idea what was going to happen in a week. Isn't that wild? I remember us sitting at the bar kind of talking about it. Like, yeah, it's getting kind of crazy right now. And we're like, I think this will be over. It'll be over by April.
And COVID's just laughing. COVID's like, these motherfuckers.
Yeah, I posted a picture with Aaron on my Instagram, and he commented it a month later and said, "Who would think this was going to be our last show ever?"
Well, Doug,
Doug, you're calling him Doug.
I'm calling him Doug now. He's Doug.
I
like
love
Doug.
It
fits.
Doug Weber.
When Steve came home, like he was real. Steve gets really emotional. I got to bring Steve back. You've met him for a little while, so you know the emotional thing with you. Did he do really weird with you? Was he really close and touchy? Because when I met him, he was like really close. Like, is this guy on the other side of the track? Like, how? I don't want to be rude, but I can see how he's laughing. I think he.
No, I don't remember that at all. I remember Steve doing very well on those shows. and then we just hung out at the bar.
Oh, because Steve said he did the worst. Like when he came back, he was like, "I was horrible."
Nah,
I didn't do well. This other guy came on and showed me what comedy was really about, and he acted like he wanted to quit. I had to get him some drinks and build his self-esteem back up. I was like, "Who is this guy that just destroyed?"
To be honest with you. So.
No,
That's nice of you, though. Thank you, Steve.
Bro, it was a great experience. I became a fan that night. Just if you can you tell Mike and our audience how you got into comedy and where you started and how quickly you broke into clubs and stuff?
Right. I was in a student club in college where we did shows like once a month for students. So it wasn't real comedy at all. It was like, accounting class is wild. You know what I mean? That's what it was. And then, so it was garbage. And then I went back home, didn't do anything for a year. And then I just started doing open mics in Nashville. And, just started working on the club. When I started, I knew pretty quickly it was all I wanted to do. So I just set a goal to be full-time. And then it took like 4 or 5 years, but I got there. And I've been full-time for September of 2019. I quit my job because my job stopped paying me because I had a shady boss.
You didn't have a choice to make the jump. That's pretty crazy. You don't hear that very often.
You always think, when am I going to be comfortable enough to just live off of comedy? And then I kind of look up and I'm like, oh, I've been doing it for 6 months already because this job hasn't been paying me. So I was like, well, I might as well quit this job I'm doing for free. And then I've just been doing stand-up since then. But yeah, that job, my boss just, I should have known. He started paying me over Venmo.
That's a red flag, cuz. That's a red flag.
Not a good sign. It was a legit company when I started, so I'd get a check. And then eventually it was just like, all right, I had a paycheck bounce. And then I had started getting paid over Venmo, and then it was like 2 months late. And then all of a sudden, I've worked 6 months without getting a paycheck.
Yeah, see, I'm Italian.
Well, then I don't need this job.
Yeah, I'm Italian, so if someone pays me and the check bounces, we usually send somebody around there to take care of it.
You've seen the episodes. I know you've seen the episodes. That doesn't happen with Italians. All of a sudden.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, I would have loved to see you handle this guy, Steve. I want you to meet my old boss. He's ghosted us. He's dropped off the face of the earth. One of the other employees is trying to sue him, and he just won't show up at court.
God damn, bro.
Wow.
So yeah, it's getting crazy.
So when
he has a new name now too.
Well, I can't. He dropped off. He used to be really active on Twitter. He dropped off of that, so nobody knows where this guy is.
So when the pandemic hit, you were at that point a full-time comic. Was it scary? It must have been really scary. No joke. Did you think we would ever get back on stage again? Was there a point where
the funny thing is I'm pretty lucky to be in this part of the country because my first weekend back was in May of 2020.
Oh my God, bro. Holy shit, you're in the South.
I know. We're doing it, man. This club in Huntsville down here, I did the May 20th of 2020, I did a weekend here.
Hell yeah, bro.
So we were one of, I think, 3 or 4 clubs in the country that were open.
We should have just moved down south. That's what happened. We should have just moved. Steve could have been the first Italian resident.
Yeah, dude. Well, I thought about that a lot because I see New York comics and LA comics that are just now starting to be able to do clubs. And I'm like, well, I got pretty lucky because I've been doing them. I mean, I've been at it since there have been periods where they shut down again and then they wait. And D.L. Hughley passed out at our club on stage.
That's where that happened?
Wow.
Yeah, that complicated things for sure. And then so we
talk about making some noise,
The audience was killing them. That's the reverse.
Yeah, did you see that video?
Yeah, dude. It went everybody knew. Every comic I knew about it.
Yeah, there are 2 things that really crack me up about that video. Number one is my buddy David, who's a comic, he's the sound guy at Zany. And he comes on, there's no protocol for the comic passing out on stage. So you don't know what to do. My buddy David just comes on the loudspeaker and goes, everybody please remain calm. We got this under control. It's just so funny. Which, I don't know what you're supposed to say, but it felt hilarious that he said that. And the other thing that really cracks me up is how little his audience cared about him.
Oh my God.
There was no concern about his well-being. If you watch the video, he passes out, they're confused for about 10 seconds, and then they immediately go to furious that the show is over.
They want
They're
the
probably
refund.
They're demanding a refund before the guy's been dragged into the green. I mean, it's insane to me how little they cared about his health. He's back at the club, I think, in a couple weeks. So I'm curious. Did your
buddy who's the stand-up that works the sound there? Did he attempt to close the show out for stage time? Here's my guest spot.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know how they ended the show.
Wow.
The video cuts off. They played that video on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Rogan called when the sound guy came on the video. He was like, "No, you don't, bitch." It's just so funny that Joe Rogan called him a bitch on his podcast.
Now, you asked if I seen that video. I remember my mom texted to me. She went, "Steven, now's not a good time to chase your dream." I'm like, not really? Come on. So, bro,
maybe it was the best time to chase your dream because there's fewer people, less competition in that moment. I don't know.
So, bro, did you have a lot of family support when you chose this as a career? Because me and Mike talk regularly on the show about how
everybody left me.
Yeah, we talk
really.
Regularly. Yeah, how
I got divorced. Everybody left me.
I still deal with a lot of family going, "Oh, you're still doing that? That's cute."
Yeah,
I'm like 35,
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, family doesn't really they don't understand the world that we're in. That's for sure. I mean, I remember I've been doing comedy 3 years, and a family member was like, "So, are you doing your own jokes, or do you do?" Genuinely didn't understand if I just do covers. You know what I mean? So there's a hurdle of just nobody understands the world you're in at all. But I waited a while before I invited my family to see me. I was like, it's got to be a real show. It can't be an open mic or a dive bar or something.
Oh my God,
it's got to be
a smart
real
man.
show,
and
I have to know that I'll do okay enough.
Yeah,
So I've been strategic about the stuff I invite my family.
That was
so they've only seen me do well, so they're supportive. if they come see me, come see me bomb, they might change their views on stuff.
I should have did that. I think that's how I got divorced. I bombed, and then I went home and bombed, and then
see I got a similar story. When I started, I remember the first show I invited my father out to was at the Laugh House where Kevin Hart started. Very famous club in Philly, but it's a black club. And what I would do with my the Italian networking in me, you're always thinking business. My first 3 months, I would hang at the bar, tip the bartender astronomically.
Steve bought the bar every time he went in there.
I guess word spread around comics that this dude coming in here and balling out, he's trying to be a comedian.
Every other comic is broke. Everybody's broke except for Steve.
So I guess the headliner gets wind of it, and he sees the crowd crippling in, and he comes up to me sitting in the back with a gin and tonic, and he goes, "Yo, you're a comic, right?" And I hand him a brand new business card with an actor headshot. I go, yeah. He goes, "You want to warm them up?" I'm like, "Yeah." Right?
Oh God.
So I text my dad, all his boys from the neighborhood. They all come out. Now it's an urban room. I'm 3 months in, and people are they're crippling into the building. Still walking in, and they're as stand-ups and hosts, there's a skill to that. You can't just do your set, especially a 3-month-old set. So now they're coming in, they're walking in. My dad's sitting there with his whole crew from the
Hold on,
neighborhood.
did you have on regular clothes or did you have on your 3-piece suit?
No, I had my tracksuit on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
y'all look like y'all about to rob the place. Is that what it is?
No, so the guy gets on the microphone. Now it's a DJ booth. He goes, "I'm going to introduce to you now one of the funniest guys in the Philly area, Steve Rinaldi." And they bring me up to like T-Pain, like, "Bye, you." Like, you know, I come up and I just do what I had 3 months in, and when I tell you crickets.
Wow.
Crickets, like you see the lady wave like fanning herself, shaking her head. No, my dad's sitting behind her, and I remember that night. My dad's like trying to coach me on why this is a bad idea, and here we are 9 years later, and he's still.
There you go.
He's like, at this point, it's better off delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want
when did your dad see you again? How long before?
My dad seen me open for Dom Herrera last year, and
nice.
I did really well. And that was like right before COVID. And afterwards, he asked me how much I made.
Oh.
And you know,
that didn't work right.
And as an opener, you know what it is, Aaron. You know, I mean, you're headlining now, but I'm saying as an opener, we know what it is. And I told him what I got paid. He went, "You know, you're unfucking believable." you know, he's not an like at this point. I think he'd be happier if I was a bookie. I mean, you know, that's why I was asking if you had a lot of family support. Like your parents love that you're a comic.
Yeah, they don't know how much money I'm making. I drove 10 hours to make $200 in a weekend. But yeah, dude, they've been good. My parents are both teachers, so they've never, it's not like they care about making money. You know what I mean?
They care about the art.
They can't really call me out for that. I'm like, yeah, you guys are teachers. So you don't know.
Well, what's great about that is their life has a purpose. What they chose to do with their life. Seriously, they affect people. They're making an impression. A teacher is a motivator. And as
Italian gangsters, they motivate people.
Yeah,
too.
you better stop. Nobody stop with the gangster bullshit. What did I tell you about that?
Here
Brian,
he comes.
Brian, that's getting edited out. He didn't mean it. This is ball breaking with Mike and Steve. And what did you say your code name is? Bart?
Doug.
I'm sorry. What the fuck?
Bart.
Where did Bart come from? Bart. Where the fuck did Bart come from? No, but so the family support thing's weird, man, because now that I'm learning how to that's very the first impression, especially when you're trying to build an audience, it means a lot. And for someone like you got mentored by Nate Bargatze. Is that fair to say? Like a relationship started there pretty early on. You made an impression. How did that all come about?
Not early on. I mean, I met him around a few times. It wasn't until the last year or so that I think we really got to know each other. There were a guy named Dusty Slay. He was the first guy to take me on the road and like taught me how to be a comic. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily even how to do comedy, but just how to be a comedian at the club, interacting with the staff, just how to handle stuff. So he was the first guy. I mean, getting a front row seat to Nate in the last year has been pretty amazing too. So I've been pretty lucky in Nashville. Just the people that are around and just right place, right time. I've been there. That's helped a lot for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you've put the work in. Like, I mean, me and Mike were talking about your material. We love it. It's a lot of. I mean, is it fair to say a lot of self-deprecation?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I think that's a fair word. You get asked that question often if somebody's not too familiar. If you're familiar with comedy, you never ask like, what genre of comedy are you? Yeah, because you just don't think about it that way, right? Yeah. But somebody who's like knows nothing about comedy, they go, "Oh, what's your style?" And I don't even know how to answer that. But I think self-deprecation is a good. I mean, there's a lot of that for sure.
What did you learn from doing the road with guys that were really strong? Like what did you pick up from having mentors like that? Like you're saying seeing Nate work and stuff.
Yeah, well, we know when everybody starts comedy, nothing. You don't know. You just find out there's an open mic and you just show up and you're like, I'll figure everything out.
Yeah.
So that's a whole new thing to learn. You just kind of pick it up. But then like going on the road, routing these one-nighters and doing trips, and that's a whole new world too. So just doing it with somebody who'd done it before and knew how to do it well, you just learn everything. And it's little something like, after the show, go stand outside and meet people, little things like that sometimes I don't like doing, but Dusty and other guys that taught me, dude, go out after the show, just go out, just be around, and people will like that. And then maybe they'll come back and see you again. Little stuff like that I just never would have thought to do.
Yeah. And when you started headlining, were you you think you were ready, or did you get put in those spots to stretch pretty early on and stuff?
Yeah, well, that's a terrifying leap from doing 25 to doing 45 to an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I'm headlining the late shows here in Huntsville this weekend, and I'm doing 45, and I hadn't done 45 in a while, and I'm like, God, that's a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'll look at my phone and I'm like, well, I've done 20 minutes, not even halfway done with this set.
It's hard. Yeah.
If I were to add up all the time I had, it would have been over 45. But you're never ready to do 45 until you do it.
Mike says that all the time.
Yeah. So I was just like, I got to headline some clubs here and just, God, did every joke I'd ever thought of and and had enough time, thankfully. But that's like still my biggest insecurity is like, I got off stage last night and did well. And then I stepped in the green room and I was like, did I just do like 18 minutes? and I just have this worst fear of like getting off and I go back and the manager comes in like, dude, we haven't even dropped checks yet. What are you doing? You idiot, get back out there. But I don't know if I'll have, it's tough. It's a whole different animal. It's the MC to feature feels like such a milestone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the few times that I get to headline, that feels like such a jump.
What's the sweet spot for you? Like where are you like most in your zone? Like you love it. Like
featuring's the best, man.
Sweet spot, right?
Yeah, you got time to stretch, and the show doesn't rest on your shoulders, so you can you mess up, whatever, and then you don't have to do any of the host stuff, no announcements, anything. That's the best spot.
Now you said down south. Now I'm curious, like down south, the scene was it competitive when you started?
Pretty good. Nashville had a pretty good scene when I started. It's gotten way better since I started. And it's gotten actually during COVID, it's gotten like unbelievable. Like I think where we've had a lot of big comics move here during Theo Vaughn moved here, Steve Byrne, Nate lives here. Kathleen Madigan lives here. Angela Johnson just moved. There's all this just famous headliners that now live in the city and are doing spots at the club all the time. So it's there's an energy here now because of that. But when I started, it's a pretty small. I mean, how many comics did you both start in Philly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many? If you had to guess how many comedians there are in the city, what would you guess?
I'd say around 1,000.
Yeah. There's a lot.
1,000?
Yeah. Yeah. Philly's a very saturated scene. And
1,000.
I mean, I'm not going to say how many of them are great.
Yeah, yeah. How many do you think are taking it seriously
and working?
Yeah.
Very small, maybe a tenth of that, bro.
Yeah.
Maybe a tenth of that. that are
Well,
out there.
Yeah, but that's still. I remember I sat down with a buddy and I was like, because somebody asked us how many comics are in Nashville, and we were like, well, let's sit down and figure this out. So we sat down and we were like, and if anybody saw this discussion, we would have hurt so many people's feelings.
I feel some sort of way by saying that. But you know when people are doing it and when they're not.
Right.
Like I don't claim to be a I say regularly on the show, I have a day job still. But I get booked at clubs as an opener. I choose to keep my day job. But with that being said, I feel it's fair to say I'm a working comic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm getting booked. I email a lot of clubs, and there's a lot of people in the scene that don't get those kinds of opportunities. I think that's what you're trying to say. Like,
yeah, or guys that are funny and just aren't taking it seriously and trying.
Right.
There are a lot of those. But I will say that the fact that I'm pretty clean, that opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah. Clean comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can do that.
Yeah, a lot of shows. There are dirty headliners that will come through and they still want a clean opener.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super common, but that does happen. And a lot of the cool things I've gotten to do is just because I'm clean. So I started doing clean because I just had this fear of my parents walking in and sitting down while I'm on stage. So, yeah, but once I was like, oh, this is actually kind of a business decision for me. Just being clean allows me to do so many more shows, and it kind of makes me different from other guys who are.
Bro, you're a lot smarter than us too. we're straight club comics. Like
I started out pushing
us back in a corner, but it's so true. Like think about how much more you could do.
I remember I got one of these agencies, and they I'm not gonna say the place, but he kind of like, he gives you a gig, he gives you a price and a place. And you're like, oh, I'm getting paid because I'm new. I'm like, I'll take it, whatever. And then I get to the place, and it's, oh, this is a church. This is a church. 30 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're a practicing Catholic, right?
I am.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It went well?
Oh, yeah, it went well. There was a lot of praying beforehand, and it was a lot of making stuff up on the fly when I was there. But I wasn't the closer. Luckily, there was somebody else to pull us out of hell. But they still enjoyed it. But it was a lesson learned. Like, I got to do some other stuff.
Yeah, I did. I opened for a big Christian comedian named John Christ. I opened for him for about 2 years, and we did a lot of churches.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, I'm Catholic, but so I know nothing about this world of these mega churches. That's a totally different thing.
Yeah, Catholic churches are the best. They're easier. They're easier going. I did it a couple Catholic churches. You can't be super dirty, but I like when I get there and everybody sits down and then they pull their bottle from under their plate, from under their thing. I was like, oh, this is going to be all right.
What Catholic church you go to where they have bottles?
Everyone I performed at, really? 3. They all had bottles. The Baptist churches are the ones you don't go to because those black people they know Jesus personally, and they get very judgmental in there.
Yeah, dude. I've done some black churches. Those are fun, man. I did a show, Chuckles at the Chapel, with this at a black church in Antioch, Tennessee, and I had never been to a black church before. I'd never seen a service. We get there before, and I peek in the window, and I was like, "Is this the after party?" They were just going wild, man. And then
the service is warming them up for the show. That's funny.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, they're warming you up.
Pre-gaming the show, but it was church. They had this band was awesome, just going off. I was like, "This is crazy," and then I'm sitting there. I'm like, I just want to do my act. I just don't want to. Right before I go up, the MC is like, we're going to do a stomp or a stomp off, or I don't even know what it's called.
It was the Holy Ghost.
People coming up and they're dancing on stage, and then he brings me. I'm the only white guy in the building, and he brings me up, and I just dance. I know. I danced up there.
And you know what? They loved you for
that into my set. So
they loved you for that.
A lot of these shows, they just put you in environments where it's just baptism by fire. Like,
Yeah.
you're in it, dude. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I didn't plan on dancing in front of 500 black people that night, but it happened. You know?
Yeah, I've been in somewhere it didn't work out well too. I was at a house. I was at a house. He sent me to somebody's house, and I was in their backyard, and there was children running around in their swimming suits, and they was like, "Oh, you got to do a clean show." And when I got there, and I was like, "This guy's a preacher up front," and I was like, "Oh, well, I took a bath before I got here. I hope that qualifies." It's clean. It did not go well.
I did this summer. My buddy Dustin Nickerson's his name. He strung together these backyard shows in these cities I'd never heard of. You know, just middle of nowhere. And I did a couple with him, and one of them was in Harrisonburg, Virginia, I think it was. So I pull up with him, and we're in this huge backyard, and it's Mennonite people.
Mennonite? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, they're like diet Amish.
Oh, wow.
And the families are so big. I remember a family pulled up, and their family vehicle was an airport shuttle. I'm not joking. I saw an airport shuttle with like 30 Mennonite people in it. And so that's when you're just like, oh man, how much of my act is about technology? You just have to start going through.
So how'd you do?
I did fine. Not great. I did fine.
You know, I talk with Mike regularly about being put in, why it's so essential to do the road, because a lot of people might not be able to identify where you're from and what
you're talking about.
You know, and I feel like that's why lately I've been taking a lot of road work, like any opportunity to MC or get some stage time in these small towns that aren't in the Northeast Philly area, because I don't want to become that local. You get stuck in that one pocket of the country. That's the only pocket you could work. Yeah. Do you agree with that, being from down south, or do you
100%?
Or do you do well
like
in Philly, New York? How do you do when you perform there?
I haven't done a ton in the Northeast. Uh-huh. I've done a little bit. It's that's tough, because you never want to just become one, like you just talk about one particular thing and then that travels nowhere.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's a guy I know he did a show out of town. And he was doing all local references about the city that he's from. Yeah. And you want to be like, dude, they don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I feel like that's what happened to me when we did that show in Columbus, dude.
Well, are you talking about Steve right now? You forgot he was here?
No, but it was a great, it was a great, I learned a lot that night.
Now, Steve, was that your first time like in doing comedy in the Midwest?
Well, I did comedy in Chicago for 2 years.
That's a little different, though.
So that was
Chicago's its own animal, though.
Yeah, that's different.
What I learned is that's why the road is so essential. Yeah. And Jay Leno, I don't know if you watched the Comedy Store documentary. He said, he said something in that documentary. He's like, if you're killing it in one city or one area of the country, get out of there.
Yeah.
He's like, if you want to be a professional road stand-up headliner, he's like, get out of there, Because
especially when you're just doing A rooms, people don't understand, like the A rooms, like the heliums and things, they're made for comedy. People come there, they're ready. But sometimes you're just doing a little hole in the wall somewhere, and it's like, it's a totally different. I did one show, there were 4 people there. They knew it was going to be a comedy show, but we were so far out there that somehow they said a goat was being born, and that took precedence over our comedy show. And I was just like, yeah, this is the last day I tell jokes. This is
wow,
because this isn't funny for me at all.
I've never seen a goat being born, so I'd probably go check that out.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
If you were on stage, I'd be like, hey, sorry, dude, I'm enjoying you. I'm gonna go check that out. I think I'd have to. If you don't see, I've seen thousands of comedy shows. I've never seen a goat being born. So that's I remember, dude. Surprising people with comedy is so funny.
It's horrible.
It's just, you're like, I mean, this is like you have to know that there's comedy happening.
Yeah.
You know, I did a show in Fayetteville, North Carolina. There's 2 shows at a place called the Dog House, and it was just it's a dive bar. I'm doing, and they don't. Here's the thing: they don't clear out the room between shows.
Oh.
So it's a show, and then nobody leaves, and then you do a second show. Wow. So you're like, all right, dude. I mean, I guess I'll just try to do all new stuff for the second show. And I bombed so bad because I'm open micing it. I'm trying to, and I go outside, and there's a woman. Dusty Slade was with me. He had just done the Tonight Show like a week ago. Wow. And now he's in Fayetteville, North Carolina at the Dog House. So I'm sitting outside, and this old woman is smoking. And she goes, "Is that guy funny in there?" And I go, "Oh yeah, he's on the Tonight Show last week." And she goes, "That don't mean nothing." And then threw her cigarette down. I was just like, wow. "Oh man, what a brutal, just like snap back to reality."
You're right.
So you met
Mike chopping it up with Jimmy Fallon a week ago, and then a week later, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Somebody. That means nothing.
So you met my grandmother. That's nice. There you go. Yeah. So how do you do? I kind of drifted away from the initial question. How do you do in Northeast LA when you're out of your area of the country where you generally work?
I've done okay. I think in the South I'm not a Southern comedian. Mm-hmm. But I think when I'm in other parts of the country, I might unintentionally have like a thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't have an accent down here.
Really?
And then
I don't have an accent here.
You're a liar.
Okay, well, say something.
His face is an accent
here. So when you're in a different part of the country, you adopt that thing, maybe. So maybe that benefits me. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll bomb next time I'm in your part of it.
Now, you said Nate Bargatze is from your town originally?
He's from Nashville. And then he started comedy in Chicago. Then he went to New York, and then he went to LA, and then he came back to Nashville, and he's lived there for a while now. He had that same philosophy that you were just talking about, Jay Leno.
Because he's very well respected in the New York I mean, not at another level. I mean, he's respected everywhere. But I'm saying there's a guy that went to Chicago for a little bit, then he went to New York. What do you take from seeing that? Like that.
His whole thing, like that Jay Leno quote, was he was told very early on, the minute that you're comfortable somewhere, that means you need to move.
Okay.
So he started in Chicago with, I think, Kumail and Hannibal Buress, and I think maybe, I can't remember who else. Like that group, he started doing well there, immediately went to New York. He considers himself a New York comic because that's where he became a real comic, right. When he was there for a long time. And I think maybe things have changed a little bit since he started. I think, it used to be, and maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe I have no clue, but I think it used to be you for sure, once you go to New York or LA, that's the move, right? Mm. I think maybe that paradigm's changed a little bit,
with COVID.
Especially since COVID.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even before that, where it's like there's good comics are everywhere now. I mean, I know comics that tour out of, Atlanta or Nashville or Austin or wherever. So it just depends on what you want to do. I just want to work the road and do comedy.
Right.
You know? So if I can keep doing that out of Nashville, I like living here. So I'll keep doing that. But I'm open to anything, If an opportunity came, you got to come to New York or LA. I mean, I'd think about it for sure.
Oh yeah, And I see you're doing a lot of headlining work. Do you? Are you at a position now where you really won't middle for anybody? Are you picking and choosing? Like,
oh, dude, I'll host.
Really?
I'll bust tables.
Yeah, that's
no. it's very cool to get to headline, but feature work is still mostly what I do. Mm-hmm. So I'll feature. I still host sometimes at the club in Nashville. It's like a weeknight or something, and I'm off. I'll go do that. So yeah, I'll do whatever, man. It's funny. I guess yeah, everybody does get to a point where you're like, I'm a headliner now. I don't do anything else, but I'm not there yet. You know,
where are you finding the time, bro? With Nateland and doing the road, like how you managing your time right now? You're keeping busy. Like, when do you guys tape? Like, where's it getting taped out of? Like, are you making the podcast a priority over the road? Like, it's really blew up over quarantine.
Yeah, thankfully we tape it Mondays or Tuesdays, depends on Nate's schedule. We just do it at his house.
Wow.
So it hasn't conflicted with anything yet. You know, It's usually if we're working the road that weekend, we're all back in town, and then it's just a few hours at his place.
Do you remember when he?
That's been pretty awesome, man.
Do you remember when he called you for the opportunity? Where you're like,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Because to be honest, I if you'd asked me before that, I didn't think Nate liked me that much. I mean, I don't even know if I've told him how big of a fan I am of him. He's my favorite comedian. I was obsessed with his comedy. And we just met each other a couple times. I opened for him in Tampa, and we got to know. We didn't talk normally or anything. Wow. And then I got a call out of nowhere. You know, just my phone pops up, Nate Bargatze. I'm out. Yeah. And he's like, do you want to do a podcast? And I thought he meant, do you want to just do an episode as a guest? And I was like, oh man, I'd love to. And then I find out later he meant like host it with me.
Oh my God, so that's great.
It was just crazy out of the blue. I mean, we're definitely, I consider him a friend now, but it wasn't like we were best friends or anything before that happened.
That's unbelievable.
So it was just a really cool thing. And Nate's just the best, man. He's just the best guy. It's been, just fell out of the sky.
Now, did you expect it to do as well as it's doing? Like, be one of the top comedy podcasts out right now, or is that something that, oh my God, this, like, you're in it and you're like, geez, this shit's really taking off. This is crazy.
Yeah, I knew the Nate part of it would be good.
Yeah,
I didn't know that Brian Bates, the other guy who's on it, I didn't know he and I would become central parts of it.
Dude, that's crazy.
So that's been really cool. I thought we would be like like Brian is on your podcast. And don't even put a camera.
Say hi, Brian.
I thought it. I had no idea what our role would be. And I'll tell you what was really cool was we just did our first live show at Zany's in Nashville a couple weeks ago, and it was our first time doing it in front of an audience, and they like knew all the inside jokes and they were laughing at everything, and that was the first time you were like, oh, people are listening to them.
Yeah, I remember I went to Shane Gillis's first headlining weekend in Philly, and you know Shane Gillis is, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so Shane Gillis, he started in well, I don't know, I think he started in Harrisburg, but he was in the Philly scene for a while. So I'm a fan of Shane, so I went out and I know a lot of the comics in his crew, and I wanted to go out and support. I wanted him to get SNL, all that shit happened, whatever the case may be. But it was so awesome to be in that audience. And every comic he brought up who is regularly on his podcast, as he's bringing up these guys that I came up with, the crowd knew them. Like, we're calling them by their nicknames and the inside joke. And that's so what cool. That's when it hit me that, like, with podcasting, if you get an audience, how it's a show. It's in today's times, it's like having a TV show. Right. And you're saying you felt that. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So it was like Shane and what's his name?
Matt McCusker.
The other guy does the podcast. Yeah. That's really cool, man. So you knew all those guys. Y'all knew those guys before they blew up and everything. And then just to see, that must be pretty. I love those videos they've been making, man.
Yeah, they're killing it with the sketches too. Like, did you ever do it? Did you ever do any?
Jake Matera, y'all know Jake, right?
Jake loves you. Jake loves you.
Jake in that video dressed like a bear. I mean, I was dying laughing. Just what a crazy.
Yeah, Gillian Keeves, their sketches are called. Everybody should definitely check that out. Very funny comedians from Philly. And have you ever done any sketch or acting work, or you just stick?
I've done a couple things. A buddy of mine, John Christ is a buddy of mine. He does a bunch of videos. I was in a couple of those. I'd like to do some stuff, but I don't know. Some people. Do you know guys, I don't know if y'all are this way, but some guys are just wired that way where they just think in sketches and they're just so good at it and they can just crank that stuff out. I'm so bad.
Right.
Like I'll have an idea maybe and then I just don't do anything with it.
I tried to work on that while I was in Chicago. I took classes at the Second City for sketch and improv. And I just ended up hanging at the comedy clubs because stand up, I don't know. There's so much about it that I enjoyed more than doing live improv and sketches. Like this part of it, this part of stand up, I love. Like we never wanted to do. We talk about it on the show. We never wanted to do a podcast. We thought everybody has a podcast, but with the internet and everything now, what's so cool about it is this shit that me, you, and Mike are doing right now that we would normally do at a bar if we were doing a show together. Yeah. Now you can do it with anybody around the country. It's like, it's crazy, cool. And it's part of stand-up cool. that people don't get a chance to see.
And you let the audience see, how comics think and really act off stage, and I really like that part because most people think, oh, he just makes jokes 24/7 and then he's just a class clown all the time. And actually, we're sad and lonely people and we stay quiet to ourselves.
No, yeah, you guys must be really witty. Now we're just mean. It's just really mean to each other. That's what it boils down to. We would get a lot of flack on the podcast of the way, I'm the fat guy, Nate's the dumb guy, and then Brian's the old guy. So we all just trash. And people will be like, I cannot believe how mean you guys are being to each other. And we're like, dude, this is just comics. Yeah. Just this is what we do. And it's the best.
Hey bro, I seen on your Instagram you had like these big cutouts of people's heads, and one of them was Philip Rivers. Was that a show that you did where Philip Rivers was there? Or do you know Philip Rivers? I was like, holy shit.
So
what was that?
The first fathead emailed me and said, if we send you some fatheads, will you do a post about it? And I said yes because I wanted the fatheads. But I'm so bad at making those videos that it's awful. I mean, I was just like, yeah, I have this. I started to respect those like Instagram influencers that do those ads because I was like, I could do that, and then I'm like, oh, this is so hard. This is my Walmart, but I got a Philip Rivers one because Philip Rivers is my dad's a high school principal, and he opened up a school in Fairhope, Alabama, about 3 years ago, and he just hired Philip Rivers to be the head football coach.
Holy shit!
At his high school. Yeah, so I got the Philip Rivers one just as a joke, and then I did a show at my dad's school a couple months ago now, I guess, and Philip Rivers was there.
Oh my
in
God.
the front row, which was odd. Just a guy I watched every Sunday for 17 years, just sitting right there in the front.
Did that mess with you a little bit, or was it just
I made a joke about it up top. I was like, I followed some woman was being presented like Teacher of the Year or something, and then she got an award, and then I came up and I was like, yeah, I gotta follow a Teacher of the Year and an 8-time Pro Bowler, and then that's just like, all right, I need you all to know that I know that he's sitting right there.
Yeah, just to get
that's all I needed to do. I can't just pretend that the future Hall of Famer isn't watching me.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
So. But pretty cool, man. Everybody's real excited about it down there.
That's awesome.
He seems like a great dude.
Any other celebrities or professional athletes you performed in your career?
With, not in.
No, I'm sorry.
That got weird.
That definitely got weird. You gotta excuse me. Aaron, listen, these guys know, and people that listen know. I'm on a body cleanse right now, which again, it's not gay. But Italians, they're vain.
If you gotta say it's not gay, it probably is.
I go between 235 and 200 regularly with a body weight, and every 6 months I do these body cleanses. So I haven't had a carb, sugar, or salt in 12 days. I'm a little off. See, I'm doing the De Niro face right now. I'm a little off. So bear with me.
Doug, you gotta
Doug,
go.
you're an asshole. Stop that.
You gotta go to the comedy clubs with Steve where you gotta get a 2-something minimum. And I order a plate, and you just watch him sweat and stress out about how he can't eat it.
bro, we did a show in Manhattan 2 weeks ago. We're driving. Out of nowhere, I pull out a peeled cucumber and start biting into it.
He literally takes an emoji to the face. He literally takes it. I said, dude, we're way too close for that kind of behavior.
It was an eggplant later. Oh, God.
He took the whole thing, too. So he went all the way.
You ate a cucumber like it was a banana?
No, well, I peeled it at the house, and then I took it as a snack because we had a 2-hour drive, so...
Okay. I was picturing you just biting into a raw cucumber.
No, that's what it was. It was just he bit it. He shaved it and bit it.
I would probably ask you to stop the car. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what this guy has planned for tonight, but I don't want to be a part of it.
Dude, that's the part about being another part about being a comic that not a lot of people know. A lot of times you work these clubs, you get drinks and food for free. I love that part of it because I'm an eater.
He's an addict,
bro. But I can't just get a burger and fries. I got to get the wings. I got to get the mozzarella sticks. Yeah. I got to hit up the Waffle House in the morning for breakfast.
Steve's the kind of guy that when you see him eat, you lose your appetite. Like you're not even hungry anymore. It's like watching the Discovery Channel as the lion trips the gazelle and devours.
I've been doing it about 3 months now, where I just eat for 4 hours a day.
Really?
Where I eat usually like 12 to 4. I eat, and then I just don't eat the rest of the day. And I've lost a bunch of weight from it. But it is like this weekend at the club, the food at this club is so good. And they keep, and Henry Cho, who's headlining the early shows, he got just a steak, and a baked potato, and they're bringing it back, and I'm just sitting there like across the room, like, oh my God.
And then the server's like antagonizing you. Aaron, you sure you're not hungry? And rubbing it. Why are you torturing me?
Every 5 minutes. You sure don't want anything to eat? Oh, let me get you. Our special is something that sounds amazing. I'm just like, oh God. I'm like just looking. The light shining off the steak, with the buttery glaze on it. I'm just like, dude, I can't keep doing this.
You like that?
So I understand, dude.
Like a crackhead, just scratching and everything.
That's what I'm saying. I'm scratching my neck. I'm like, you mind if I smell that real quick? I'm like, what? Let me just get a whiff of what you're eating over there.
See, Aaron, when I started comedy, I was in my mid-20s, and you would be able to eat and drink all night. No effect. And then for some of us, not Mike, he's got great metabolism and genes. But for me, it's like,
Levi's.
Listen, I eat and drink, it affects me. That's just, I'm that guy. And it's like, no one tells you in your 30s, you can't do that no more. So it's tough.
I tell Steve, he can eat regular. It's just, you can't have Thanksgiving for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If he would just eat normal human-sized food, it'll be fine.
I order apps for the table at IHOP before they bring the menus.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. We talked about that on an episode.
And then he runs through the menu. Apps. He runs through the menu.
No, I make it an app. I got like pancakes and French toast as an appetizer with a side of whipped cream.
That's how he appetizes.
The lady was just so confused. She was just like,
yeah, you're like, can you just bring out a plate of sausage?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, jeez.
Breakfast sausage.
I love
and just waiting for him. I don't know. I think it's the Italian thing. It's so great working with other cultures, but he has this thing where he thinks when he sits down, they already should have food at the table for him already. And he's like, where is everybody? And I was like, she's walking. She's coming. Slow, calm down. She's going to get here. We got to stop by the drive-thru so that he can have food for the restaurant when we get there. It's a prep.
You got to pregame the meal. That's pretty amazing.
No, and you
Well,
know the other.
I hope you and I can go out and have a proper meal together someday, Steve.
Absolutely,
Because
bro.
I feel like you and I could go toe to toe. You know?
Yeah. I'm a.
I don't know. He may work your beard off up in there. You may have to start paying some of it.
Hey,
like a squirrel.
I'm from Philly, the home of the Wing Bowl, bro.
Yeah.
You ever hear of the Wing Bowl?
No, what's a wing bowl?
They do it a week before the Super Bowl in Philly. It's a wing competition, and you got to eat the most wings.
Brian, you want to tell him about the time?
I was never in it. I'm just.
You want to tell him about the time when he we were at this like open mic and we didn't know that Steve was in a race. We thought we were just chilling and eating. How many wings was it? Was it Brian? It was 30 wings, but me and Brian had 2.
Yeah, it was one of those comedy nights where it's 50-cent wings too to get the crowd.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Steve spent $10,000.
What's it? Yeah.
Look how embarrassed he's looking.
Nah,
Look.
It's all good.
Steve said, that was my backsliding days. Now, I'm on a faithful diet.
I'm on a cleanse.
Committed.
Not gay, though. Okay. All right.
Aaron, right before we close up, can you just tell our crowd where they could see you, catch you, check out Shirts and Skins, your special, and thanks again for doing this. Thank you.
I'm headlining Zany's Chicago in June, for the first time.
Love that room.
That'll be really cool. That's June 25th to the 27th. O'Fallon, Missouri in May. Those are a few headlining dates, but I got a lot of my MySpace page, AaronWeberComedy.com.
He definitely said MySpace.
Yeah. Well, I built my website to look like an old early 2000s era MySpace page.
Bro, I love that.
Which was a lot of fun to do, but I think I did too good of a job because people think it's a real MySpace page, and there's only a small window of like ages that will understand the joke. So I'll get emails from older people all the time that are like, I'm trying to go to your website, but it keeps forwarding me to like a MySpace. What is it? And I got
I got the last space. I got the last space.
Yeah, dude, it's probably a horrible business decision, but it makes me laugh. So my MySpace page is AaronWeberComedy.com. Everything's on there. You can check out the album and anything. Just I appreciate it,
bro. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And
absolutely,
you can catch Aaron on Nateland Podcast regularly.
Yeah.
Bro, thank you again, Aaron. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Nice
yeah,
meeting you.
y'all have a good one, man.
All right, buddy. See ya.